Hello, everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast. In this audio podcast series, the Erudition of Colladax. This is Colladax Rupture and an audio podcast aligned to the Colladax feature. This is the Colladax feature 2. This is a chartered edition and an evidence-based perspective. This is another Storm Robotics production. This audio podcast short will be in around sort of leadership skills, and wherein there was a so retrospectively there was a workshop that took place in 2020, and here there will be a bit of an overview in around this leadership skills workshop. So sort of retrospectively, there was this workshop on leadership skills, and there was a particular intrigue to learn about definitions and differences between, for example, leadership and management. There was also an intrigue to learn about roles, sort of the roles about roles and work delegation. There was an intrigue to also learn about the qualities of good leaders, types of leaders and managers, professional working relationships, and learning by example. Here there was a learning. There was a learning that there was a learning in around several qualities to leadership and a basis in around sort of responsibilities of a good leader, and also in around the well-being and success of a team of a team or colleagues, and ensuring there is a sort of a cohesive working environment, and also uh, where uh, where 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 the responsibility is organized by leaders, by good leaders, at least by good leaders, to ensure work does not become, for example, overbearing or overwhelming. Being in this in around this particular leadership skills workshop, retrospectively, there had been a basis in around where leadership consists of where good leaders have a sense of enthusiasm, and also where it's important to have important to have sort of a balance or a basis, and there are and where this workshop took place, there was the workshop where this workshop took place on a retrospectively, there was an overview in around sort of four bases in around linked to sort of four types, where there's bases in around four types of leaders. So so for example, number one, author or so for example, number one, authoritarian. Authoritarian. Number two, transactional. Number three, democratic, and four, laissez-faire, where laissez-faire is has a definition in around a sort of a relaxed basis in around leadership. That being said, a good leader is always ready to learn and develop. And it was sort of retrospectively, as well. There was some works that took place, and through this workshop that took place, as well. There was opportunity to highlight some experiences in around sort of the work sort of the work the work based based the work based um, sort of example as well. And As part of the work-based example, it was sort of although the research workshop took place. This research workshop took place in 20 sort of retrospectively in 2020. It was in During the workshop, there was an example provided in around presenting presenting some research, having identified having identified our remit in around a particular symposium, in around a particular symposium that took place in June in a year before, in June 2019. And it was where the collaborator and colleagues, where there were a few meetings where there was opportunity to, again, to sort of bounce ideas off each other, to for example, to focus sort of a research abstract in around the works that was to be put forward for presentation for this particular symposium. And um, uh, and, and it was during the meeting time, we decided to highlight, there was a decision to highlight, for example, number one, the quantitative data surrounding surrounding the research that a colleague and collaborators a colleague and collaborator had had been involved in as part of their work, in around aspects of a particular healthcare practices. And number two, to in around how technology can be of advantage. And number three, a link to sort of the literature bases in around the works in around the research, and wherein the literature would link to a sort of an awareness in around the safety aspects. So at the same time, the workshop, the research, sorry, this workshop in around leadership skills, uh, had there was an opportunity to highlight excuse me, highlight sort of the risk, sort of the risks in around a group in context of population health, that would be susceptible or at risk in context of where particular aspects of health, particular aspects of health would be implicated or negatively implicated, and where the colleagues and collaborators, sort of research, look to identify look to identify the technology aspects for example, in around preventing, for example, sort of where 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 preventing of sort of sort of events, risk-based events, and where the colleagues' work look to again highlight some aspects in around the safety in around aspects of the data, and in around the data that had been collated. So having grasped how to project manage project manage as part of this works as well, sort of project manage and collaborate. It had been important to also identify opportunities to build on skill sets, sort of retrospectively, sort of uh, uh, and sort of the and some sort of abilities sort of retrospectively as well. This led to the development in around a research poster in around the research poster for presentation retrospectively to in around and again the sort of year before this particular workshop took place in June 2019. And it was a good opportunity to learn about the how research posters, for example, for articulating sort of particular data. At the same time, there was a reflection, and again, a reflection again in using, for example, Mezirow's model from 1978, because it allowed to learn through again critical reflection, and leading to important important critiquing. Learning also allowed to appreciate what it means to become a leader, and contribute knowledge where little understanding is known. The workshop highlighted understanding around sort of leadership qualities, uh, and um, and sort of being sort of self-aware, and also being and also where mentoring is important. Here, as part of the workshop, I learned there was a general learning around sort of new behaviors, and to sort of, for example, commercial versus non-commercial, and how both aspects can typically exist, can typically coexist. And this was perhaps challenging. This was perhaps one of the main bases, or basis, where this particular workshop was helpful or was useful. It was important to the workshop also sort of help sort of build a sort of a plan, and prioritize sort of work, and also sort of reintegrate through self-reflecting, and using sort of Mezirow's model from 1978. Again, it led to a sharing of knowledge base surrounding sort of aspects of healthcare, understanding surrounding sort of the sort of some aspects in around technology, and how from a basis where research has been sort of retrospectively aligned to healthcare, in context of for example, a context for example, of government based sort of government based sort of underpinnings, in context of, for example, healthcare, and and the National Health Service and the NHS. This workshop allowed sort of a basis where through sort of reflective from a reflective basis that had led to sort of some grappling of self sort of self examination, where for example, in context of where colleagues and collaborators had been involved in industry, and so the re, the this particular workshop in around leadership skills and work the leadership skills workshop allowed a basis in around and sort of allowed a basis through Mezirow's reflective model from 1978 to sort of to help navigate sort of leadership from a perspective where where there had not been as much as much sort of basis sort of from a practical basis sort of retrospectively. So this the leadership skills workshop was from retrospectively from 2020 was useful in this context. Um, so that ends this sort of audio podcast short in line to the erudition of Colladax. This has been a Colladax rupture and the Colladax feature 2. This has been an audio podcast again aligned to a Storm Lobostics production. Thank you.